The bargain. Emily Hart learned about her own wedding from a caterer's invoice left open on the kitchen counter. Her father, Richard Hart, did not look up from his coffee when she asked him about it. It was her stepmother, Vanessa, who answered, smoothing her silk sleeve as if the matter were already settled and only needed a little ironing. "You'll be marrying Nathaniel Cross," Vanessa said. "It's a wonderful opportunity, Emily. The Cross family will fold your father's company into theirs. We'll never worry about money again." "Nathaniel Cross is in a coma," Emily said. "I've read about him. He's been unconscious for over a year." "Then he'll hardly be a difficult husband," Vanessa said, and smiled the way she always smiled when she'd already won. Richard would not meet his daughter's eyes. Emily understood, without being told, that her father's business was drowning, that Edmund Cross, the billionaire patriarch who owned half the shipping lanes on the eastern coast, had offered a lifeline in exchange for exactly one thing: a Hart daughter married into the Cross name, to keep the comatose heir's share of the inheritance from slipping into his stepmother's hands before the boy could be legally declared incapacitated. Emily's own mother had died when she was 12. There had been no one left in the house with enough love for her to override Vanessa's math. 3 weeks later, Emily stood in a chapel in a white dress that had been chosen for her, in front of a groom who did not stand at all. Nathaniel Cross lay in a hospital bed that had been wheeled up the aisle, tubes taped to the back of one still hand, his face turned toward the stained glass window as though, even unconscious, he could not bear to look at her. A priest read vows into a silence broken only by the soft beep of a heart monitor. Emily married a stranger who could not say, "I do." She said it for both of them, her voice even, her hands folded, because no one in that chapel had asked what she wanted. 2. The man who was not sleeping. The Cross estate was a cold, enormous thing, all marble and hush. Emily was given a room down the corridor from her husband's, informed by the household staff of his schedule of care. The nurses, the physical therapists, the specialists who came twice a week and left shaking their heads. She was told to sit with him sometimes. It would look right for photographs. She had not expected to feel anything sitting there, but something about the quiet of that room got under her ribs. She began reading to him, not because anyone told her to, but because the silence pressed on her worse than anything else in that house. She read him novels, shipping reports she found boring, the newspaper. She talked to him the way she might talk to a diary, telling him things about her day, about Vanessa's latest cruelty, about how much she missed her mother's voice. She did not know that some nights, long after the nurse had gone, Nathaniel Cross opened his eyes. He had been driving home from a board meeting 14 months earlier when his brakes failed on the coastal road. He remembered the car leaving the guardrail, remembered thinking, with strange clarity, someone did this on purpose. He woke in the hospital 3 days later, and before he opened his eyes fully, he heard his stepmother Diana's voice in the corridor, low and pleased, telling his stepbrother Julian that the mechanic had been paid enough to disappear for a year. So Nathaniel had made a choice. He kept his eyes closed. If the world believed him gone, he reasoned, the people who had tried to kill him would stop watching their own tracks so carefully. A dead man learns nothing. A sleeping man, everyone assumes, learns nothing either, which was exactly the mistake Nathaniel needed them to keep making. Through a physical therapist secretly loyal to his late mother's memory, and through Father Alden, the family priest who had baptized him as a boy and now heard the estate's confessions, Nathaniel had spent over a year quietly gathering what a corpse cannot: proof, bank transfers, a recorded conversation, the name of the mechanic Diana had paid. He had not expected to feel anything either, lying there, but something about the young woman who read him boring shipping reports in a voice that trembled when she thought no one could hear it. Something about that got under his ribs, too. The priest's confession. It was Father Alden who finally broke the silence, 3 months into Emily's marriage to a man who had never once looked at her. He found her in the estate's small chapel, where she had taken to sitting alone in the evenings. "Mrs. Cross," he said gently, "there is something I have carried for a long time that I believe now belongs to you more than to me." He told her everything, haltingly, watching her face for the moment it might close against him in anger. that her husband was awake and had been for most of the time she had known him, that he had heard every word she'd ever said to him, that he had chosen his silence not out of cruelty but out of necessity, because the people who wanted him dead were still in his house. Emily did not speak for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "Take me to him." That night, for the first time, Nathaniel Cross opened his eyes while she was in the room. "You heard all of it," Emily said, "not a question." "Every word," he said. His voice was rough from disuse. "The night you told me about your mother's rosary, the night you cried about Vanessa selling your childhood home before you'd even packed your things, I heard you." She should have been furious, and for a moment she was, the betrayal of it hot in her throat. But underneath the anger was something else, the strange, aching relief of realizing that for a year she had not actually been alone in that room after all. "Why tell me now?" she asked. "Because I am done lying still," Nathaniel said, "and I would rather stand up beside you than keep hiding from you. My stepmother tried to kill me, Emily. My stepbrother helped her. Your father was maneuvered into this marriage by people just as hungry as mine. I think," he said, sitting up slowly, wincing at muscles gone weak from a year of stillness, "that you and I have the same enemies wearing different faces. I would like your help ending them, and I would like, if you're willing, for this marriage to become a real one, chosen, this time, by both of us." Emily looked at the man she had married in name only, now finally looking back at her, and found that the fury she'd expected to feel toward him had nowhere to land. He had not taken anything from her that Vanessa and her father hadn't already taken first. "Tell me the plan," she said. 4. The Reckoning. They built it slowly, the way Nathaniel had built everything for the past year, in silence, out of sight, until the trap was ready to close all at once. Emily, it turned out, had a gift her stepmother had never bothered to notice. People underestimated her instantly, told her things they shouldn't, assumed the quiet Hart girl was too grieved and too obedient to be dangerous. She used it. She got close to Diana Cross under the pretense of grateful daughter-in-law, listened to her stepmother-in-law boast, half drunk on champagne at a fundraiser, about how easily poor, sick Nathaniel had been dealt with. She got closer to Julian, who, arrogant, certain the game was already won, let slip the name of the shell company that had paid off the mechanic. Nathaniel, meanwhile, awoke from his coma in full view of the family's lawyers, doctors, and, most importantly, Edmund Cross himself, a miraculous recovery witnessed by exactly the right people. He wept convincingly for his father, embraced his stepmother, and thanked his stepbrother for holding the family together. He asked, humbly, for time to recover before resuming any business affairs. Diana and Julian, delighted that the inconvenient heir remained soft and trusting, relaxed their guard completely. That was their mistake. Within a month, Nathaniel and Emily had assembled everything. The recording Father Alden had helped preserve, the paper trail of the shell company Julian had unwittingly confirmed, sworn testimony from the mechanic, who, once offered protection instead of another payoff, was eager to unburden himself. Emily's own father was not spared. Nathaniel made certain Richard Hart learned exactly how Vanessa had orchestrated the marriage behind his back to skim an arrangement fee from the Cross family that Richard had never seen a cent of, quietly redirected into an account under Vanessa's maiden name. The unveiling happened at a Cross family gala, in front of the very board members and society figures Diana had spent a year performing grief for. Nathaniel stood at the podium where his father was to give a toast, and instead played the recording of Diana's own voice, calm and pleased, discussing the brakes on his car. The room did not breathe for a long moment. Diana was escorted out by two men who were, Emily would later learn, private investigators Nathaniel had hired the week he woke. Julian, panicking, tried to flee the country that same night and was arrested at the airport with a passport under a name that did not belong to him. Edmund Cross, ashen, disinherited them both before the week was out. If you are still watching, tell us where you are watching us from. Comment if you think Richard's plan is the best. Vanessa's unraveling was quieter but no less complete. Richard, confronted with the evidence of his wife's theft, filed for divorce within days, and for the first time in years, looked at his daughter as though he actually saw her. 5. What was chosen? Months later, Emily stood again in the chapel where she had married a man who could not speak his own vows. This time, Nathaniel stood beside her, steady on his feet, his eyes open, his hand holding hers because he wanted to, not because a nurse had placed it there. Father Alden, who had kept a secret for over a year out of loyalty to a dying woman's son and had finally set it down in the right hands, presided once more. "The first time," Nathaniel said quietly before the ceremony began, "I let you say the words for both of us. This time, I want to say mine myself." "Say them then," Emily said, and there was no bitterness left in her voice, only something that had grown, slowly and against all odds, out of a year of reading aloud to a man she thought could not hear her. Subscribe to Timeless Stories and click the notifications button for more stories on our channel. See you in the next Timeless Story.